Portugal, there's a YouTube show full of fun facts you need to know. Carl rings the bell and the members show to the GMP Morning Show. Featured guests will come and they will blow your mind. The audience will do so in kind. The little vanity mixed with some insanity on the morning show with GMP. Hey, Gumpers.
Hola, bon dia, alegria. Munson here with the Good Morning Portugal show, live stream and podcast. How the heaven are you this morning? I had a lovely, lovely weekend this weekend. The high point, the climax was hanging out at the Aldea Beer Fest. Here it is. I want to call it Castanera de Pera's Beer Festival, but it's actually in the little village, and it has been for 2 years now. Aldea de Pera. So not in the main town of Castanera de Pera, where there's that amazing Roca lagoon, swimming lagoon. A little way out, and then a little way further out was where I stayed and had a lovely time at the Casa Ribeira again for the second year. Frank wasn't with me, shouting out in the night that he thought we'd been abducted to Morocco. Remember that last year? I had a much quieter evening and sleep. And I tell you what, when with the even without the curtains drawn, at night this place was pitch black and it was so quiet. It was, I don't know if this makes any sense, but it was tinnitus quiet. It was so quiet and so dark that I could hear how quiet it was and was quite overwhelmed about how dark it was. We don't live in that busy a place, and we're out of the tourist season now, and I think it's quite peaceful at night, but this was a whole nother level. So thank you, Ruth, for your excellent hospitality, and you've taken the baton from Stefan and Ferry. Ferry in this picture, it was Ferry on the right there, the monk sipping beer there, craft beer, who started that project at Casa Ribeira, and it's now in Ruth's excellent hands, and I'll have more footage and a film to show you from her lovely place there. And what a wonderful evening we had. Arrived there late afternoon to be embraced by the brotherhood here, and drank quite a few craft beers from these gentlemen here. I think that is most of the brewers there, and that's a really quiet moment, most unlike the rest of the day, where there was a little clearing. And there they are from Candal, Azor, and Epicura. Lovely mix of beers. They all get on really well. Taboa as well. They all get on really well. And they presented us with a fine array of craft beers. So I'm not sure mixing beef madras with craft beer was the right thing to do. But what a lovely, lovely weekend. And the drive over from the coast into central Portugal was so therapeutic. So a lovely time. And that enigmatic jazz musician, Eggy Topnote, was spotted there in central Portugal, among lots of other friends that I've met along the way here on my journey in Portugal. And it was lovely to have a bit of an informal reunion of such folks and friends on Saturday afternoon and evening. So that was fantastic. How was yours? Do let me know on 913-590-303 or in the chat. That's a whole lot easier, isn't it? Steve's here. Good morning to you, Steve. See you tomorrow evening. What are we talking about tomorrow evening? Can you remind us, Steve, what we'll be chatting about? Live from the Beverly Hills of Portugal. Nice bit of branding there. And oi, Carl, bon dia, my lovely boyo. Good morning to you, Jackie, as well. Lovely to see you here and to see your greeting on the screen. And Antonio F. Antonio F's Portuguese saying of the day: enter like a lion, leave like a ram or a sheep. So I think that's what we'll try and avoid. James and I will try and avoid that this morning. There is no try. We will not be. We'll leave like lions. Let's see if we can enter like a lion and leave like a lion in just a moment. And at 9:30 this morning, we've got Sarah back from Chumbaria, which is a village that she and husband Steve bought and did up. They've been on the telly on Channel 4 in the UK, and they bought this village, did it up, And it's got some hempcrete detailing in the building work, which I think James will also approve of. So I'm sure he'll have a nice chat along with me, chatting with Sarah at around 9:30. Good morning to you, Coach, to you, Deagle. We'll go through these comments with James on the screen. So let's bring him on now, shall we? His theme tune, cue music. Where is he? Where's he gone? There he is. Hola, bom dia, tudo bem?
Bom dia. Maybe I forgot to get here.
That's not entering like a lion. That's entering like the invisible man.
Like a ghost.
How are you, mate? Tudo bem?
Wonderful, thank you. Muito obrigado. E
Excelente.
tu?
Muito bem, obrigado. Yeah, just detailing my lovely weekend in Central Portugal. I think we will be writing about it for sure this week for the Portugal Resident. And I was talking to some Portuguese people there. Really great situation. Portuguese who've lived in Lisbon but have returned to the house that their grandparents owned and where they remember being as kids. How lovely is that? And that contrast of Lisbon life, and Lisbon lurching into the future as it obviously wants to do and is inevitable really in the capital city of Portugal. But out there in the Portuguese outback, the spiritual, psychological, social ballast of this country. Every time I go out there, I just this is true, real Portugal. And that's no disrespect to anywhere else in Portugal, but the real heart of it feels like to me is over that way.
It's where you resonate the most.
It really is. Yeah. Really had a lovely time of it. So it wasn't just about the beer, although that was really nice. Had some lovely craft beers.
The brotherhood of beer is what I thought when I saw that.
Yeah, there's loads of them. There were only 2 of them there on this occasion, but they tour around Portugal dressed as monks. And I did ask Pete if he had anything on, you know, you get a bit disinhibited when you've had a few craft beers. Have you got anything on underneath that habit? And yeah, it was a bit chilly, as our opening meme suggested this morning. Chilly outside. That's how it is at the moment. Is it a little bit colder where you are as well? I would have thought on the coast.
Definitely been cooling off.
Yeah.
The range is a little broader, so it gets a little cooler and it stays a little on the warmer side, and then it'll start everything will be moving cooler. So
yeah, that Portuguese is moaning about the 300 days of sunshine thing again. Now,
see, just tell him it's 237 and he'll settle down.
Yeah, it's adjustment, isn't it? And you know, we've got the long-term average, we've got trends to look at. We can really move with those statistics, or they can move with us.
Now, I should do some research because I find myself being curious. How do they make that determination? You know, how much sun has to show during a day for it to count as a day of sunshine?
Yes.
Minutes?
Yes.
You know, it could be 365 if it was 1 minute.
That's right. And I do feel a little bit triggered or got at by this, because I've traded on that for sure.
Yeah, it's marketing hype.
Yeah. However, you know, I'm here for the light, not the heat. You know, there's something that there are 2 parts to sunshine, aren't there? There's the light and the heat. And I also say about Portugal, which is not my phrase to say really, but I can't not say it because I think it's so true. It's the cold country with the hot sun. Now,
I always hesitate a little bit with cold country because it can. I maybe it's because of my psychotherapy background, but I hear cold as an emotional cold, and it's absolutely not. It's a very warm country in that regard.
Not cold like that.
So I would, in my mind, because I always want to correct these things so I can feel it correctly. Portugal is a land of cold wind and hot sun. Because that's really that's what makes it a cold country, is the cool air blowing down from the north that is almost always coming from the north. Is that what
does it? Right. Okay. Yeah. I can completely go with that. It is cold in the morning and the evening, and I experienced that in Central Portugal. and then the sun comes out, and to me, that's a wonderful thing. I mean, great when you have fantastic summer days, but this time of year is so special when there's a cold air, but your bones are warmed by a very hot sun, and I really love that combination.
That can happen even with the hot sun out, just standing in the shade. That's why,
Yes.
it's cold air.
Yes.
It's a hot day, cold in the shade. It's both hot and cold, depending on where you're standing. So anyway, it's difficult to define on, one sentence.
And I think
I understand what you're saying.
As with so many things, you need a bit of context, and you need to have a nuanced conversation. And that is, I'll challenge him on his moaning tomorrow night, because he and I will be having another chat tomorrow evening at 7. Munson and the geezer. He wants to talk about sausages for some reason, so we'll talk about that. And it's world news through the lens of a couple of foreigners living in Europe, if that's not too complicated, which of course it is. But it's just an excuse for us to have a chat, because I think we have a slightly different view of the world to many other people. Or does everybody think that, James? Everyone thinks they've got a slightly different view of the world, don't they?
Probably, yeah. I mean, that's good old ego. Ego is going to stand for itself. And part of that very often is I am unique. That could be unique to an American position. I don't know. I think all Americans think they are unique and special in some way.
Just like everyone else.
Yeah. And even the people who think they're nothing important feel they're unique in their not importantness. So it's just
I'm so uniquely unremarkable.
Yes, there you go.
Very good. Solar radiation. This is great. This is a lovely bit of physics, isn't it? The solar radiation is high as there's low cloud. Okay, this is another little bit of information that's useful. So it heats the skin. That's right. That's the bone warming effect, isn't it, of the Portuguese sun? And it's especially, I think, with solar radiation. I remember that being taught in geography with a torch. So on the equator, the torch is at 90 degrees to the land, and then as the Earth tilts, the beam of the torch spreads, so the intensity of the heat is not the same. However, we seem to have a bit of a loophole here, where I really feel the heat of the sun. And of course, it needs a medium. Heat needs a medium, doesn't it? And we are the medium when we have those lovely hot.
Yeah, it's all about reflection and absorption, basically.
Yes, that's what I'm trying to say. Yeah. So get your black t-shirts out for maximum.
And I read an interesting thing that while black absorbs or gets hotter, it also disperses the heat faster.
Yeah.
So once you're not in direct sun, it cools off very fast.
Yes.
I never thought about that, but it makes sense to me.
That's right. And I think what from what you're saying there, that's why we do get a cold night and a cold evening, because when it's gone, isn't it? When that warming effect it's not there, it's not evident, it's not felt. And
we do have the greenhouse effect that helps. It's kind of a blanket that doesn't get it, so we don't freeze when the sun is no longer on our half of the planet.
Absolutely, it is when I forgot what I was going to say now. Oh, it's when the stone buildings come into their own, isn't it? So they absorb the heat during the day.
Yeah, the original home air conditioning system.
Yeah. Now, I wonder if hempcrete is the same. We'll be talking to Sarah about that a little bit later on. But tell me about how you're doing. Did you have a weekend?
This weekend was basically back to normal. I didn't go out of town, didn't have any visitors, see anything new. It was our basic grocery shopping, stay at home kind of weekend, which was fine for me. I find that because I'm such a creature of routine and as much as I enjoy getting out of that routine and doing fun and different things, I always feel off balance for at least a day or maybe even 3 days afterwards.
Really?
Like, oh, what do I need to get done? Because there's things you need to do every day. It's like, what am I on to now? Oh, I missed this. So for me, it always takes a bit of a reorganization to get back into the flow of my day-to-day life.
So you like your routine, don't you?
Well, yeah. I always say that my first priority, I realized, is efficiency, and routine definitely feeds efficiency. When you have a routine, you just move from this to this to this. You don't have to think about it. Boom, boom, boom. It gets done.
Yeah.
And I used to wonder why do I do these things this way? That's the mindful part. And it's like, oh, because I realized that efficiency is my number one go-to. The first question is, what's the most efficient way to do it? It's just kind of it feels like a strange way of thinking for me. I'm probably not the only one, but because I'm not unique in that way. But
What?
that's how I roll.
Yeah, and we had a little chat about getting up because I was up at 6 this morning. I had a busy weekend, so I needed to get up. Well, I could have done it last night, but by the time I got around to it, I thought I can't stay awake, and it's not going to be very good if I try and do it now. So I'll get up early in the morning. Now that's risky because sometimes I'm very good at talking. Sometimes I don't, and I'm very good at talking to myself at around 6 when I've set the alarm and saying, you know what, can't I just play last week's intro, or can't I just put a different video in? It'll be fine. It'll be fine.
Right.
Just 5 minutes, just 10 minutes more, just 15 minutes more. But I thought, no, I was on top of myself, so to speak, with that this morning, and got up at 6 and had a really nice time. Did what I wanted to do, took the dogs out, had a great cup of tea, and it slowed the day. I'm not as normally at this time, if I've got up an hour before the show, for example, there is a sense of rush.
Go.
That hour passes really quickly.
Yes.
Having got up 3 hours before the show this morning, it's been so leisurely and wonderful. And that's a really good reason to get up early. And I'd love to do a little straw poll with the Gumpers here. You're 6:30, is it? Did you say?
Yeah, pretty routinely 6:30.
All right.
And I'll add that I've made this point before, but that extra half hour in the morning rather than starting at 8:30 and starting at 9 has worked really well for me because I also get my language study done in the morning. So it gives me just enough extra time to get my full hour in without getting interrupted. So that works really well for me.
You're very welcome. I've given you another half hour.
Thank you. Yes, so much. Yes. Really appreciate it.
Giving people the gift of time. It's
That's
just
right.
so special, isn't it? And it
doesn't exist, by the way. Time doesn't exist.
Right. Games we play with ourselves. That didn't come out quite as I hoped it would.
I understood.
Yes, thank you. I'll move on. So here we go. Gumpers letting us know what's happening. 6 o'clock mostly for Andy Thompson. I think some Gumpers have to get up, not to get up, but they have to get up.
to work, to go do something.
Yeah, the call of nature. But I'm not looking for what time you're disturbed by your bladder necessarily, but what time you get up usually. 8 alarm for 8?
The day. What time do you rise for the day?
He's a late starter, isn't he? Late riser.
Woo, 8 a.m.
Yeah, it's a proper old luxury there, isn't it? Compared to a lot here. Andy at 6, for example, and you at 6:30. What a lovely weekend.
Wait, Pete's 100?
No, well, actually, maybe he is. He looks well on it, but I think he was going to a 100th birthday party in the village. What did you buy the chap? Fabulous 100th birthday, where he told me how he liked washing in my spring when he was a kid, and Spurs hammering Man United at home. The world is right. Look at that. That's fantastic. It's exactly what he wanted to hear. So he washed he washed himself, or he washed his clothes. That's amazing, isn't it? Somebody who's 100 has so much to share with us.
He washed that 100-year-old guy. I don't know. It's a little confusing.
Take me to the river, or take me to the spring anyway. Amazing. Between 5 and 6, says Duck this morning. And also said earlier on that not like a lion, nor like a sheep, more like a duck, calm on the surface and paddling like crazy under the water. Presumably not at 5 in the morning. I suspect it's all quite quiet, isn't it, between 5 and 6? And Rugby Colin is here. He got spotted. That bloke off Good Morning Portugal. He got spotted over the weekend in a restaurant. In a good way. There wasn't a fight or anything. 7:30 works for me. He says 7:30. How about that? Mm-hmm. So it's interesting to find out the Gumper habits and not to take anything for granted. Also, a question and from a new, and maybe it's not a question, it's a question mark or a lifestyle challenge here in Portugal. Ireshko UK is here. Not seen you before, I don't think. Ireshko, I'm wanting to move to the Algarve, but I'm scared of taxes on keeping large sums in a bank to live on. Well, you're not going to get any interest at the moment in Portugal. I don't think they tax you for money in the bank, do they necessarily?
Yeah, and if you already have the money and you've paid the taxes on it, then it doesn't matter how much you have or how much you spend. It's already been done. So if you made it as income and paid income taxes, you can keep it in a bank forever and not get taxed on it.
Yeah, That's right.
And I will use the caveat. I am not a tax accountant. Consult a professional. Yes.
You sounded like one for a few minutes there. Only tax interest. You see, they get you everywhere you go, right? You were not going to notice that so much, though, are you? They'll give you, I don't know.
That'll be more income.
Yeah. So they'll give you 2%. The bank will give you 2%, and the government.
That's
will
very generous from a
5%.
bank. It's more like 0.001 these days.
Yeah. Well, Doc's here. Doc might join us with Sarah after 9:30 this morning. 6 o'clock for Steve every day, even weekends. Look at him. He's a hardworking fella, is Steve. Do you ever have a lie-in, and then do you enjoy it, Steve? I think a lie-in can be useful, especially if you're feeling a bit under the weather. Keep it in wise. I'm not sure that's a defense against finances. I'm sure it's not.
No, more likely.
Okay, but there's some advice for you. None of these people, are tax advisors. They're all just, pitting their chances against the machine, like the rest of us. Don't worry, the Algarve will soon relieve you of your money. But where better to be relieved of your money, right? Could be worse. Could be worse. Right. I'm getting 4.8 in a US credit union. So there you go. There's an idea for you.
Wow, good job, Thunder.
It's where you
that much in my credit union.
Yeah. Keep the money in wise. What else can you keep in wise?
Wisdom.
Yes. Before I forget, James, we've had messages. I don't know if you're aware. On Friday, I asked most people who watch this show watch it after it's this, the live situation. And I urge people who listen later to reach out. And 2 people did. Donna, the Gainesville Gator Girl, said, Botard from Gainesville, Florida, from Tom Petty's hometown. Hurricane winds were quite scary. Thank you for all your good thoughts. 3 aunties, 3 pups, all safe and sound. That's great. Good to hear from you, Donna, and thank you for that message.
Yes. Thanks, Donna.
And Mark from Kansas. He still is in Kansas. When you come to Portugal, you can
see
him
and Dorothy.
What?
Dorothy, Wizard of Oz.
Well, it's Mark. He might know Dorothy.
I'm saying him and Dorothy are from Kansas.
They are, aren't they? And the others, the lion, not the sheep again. And there's a lion-esque theme this morning. The Tin Man, and who's the other one? And the Scarecrow. That's right. And full of symbolism, isn't it? The Wizard of Oz.
Maybe, or maybe he was just high. I think people have been debating that for years.
That could have been it.
He's on shrooms or something.
Or it's
like
both.
Alice in Wonderland, It's amazing what literature you can get when you're just in another world.
Yeah, but you might be channeling, mythical, metaphorical, symbolical.
Who knows?
Yeah, okay, fair enough. We can go with that. Mark from Kansas. We're not accusing you of any of the above, Mark. Enjoy your show, says Mark. Hi, Cole. Enjoy your show. Watch on YouTube every morning. Isn't that lovely, James? People will be watching us later on. Should we wave to them? Hi, if you're watching later on.
Hi, Mark.
Hi, Mark. Hi, Donna.
Donna.
He says nothing quite like it anywhere else. Guilty as charged, I hope. Yeah.
See, you are unique.
Yep. Thank you. Thanks for being positive, says Mark from Kansas. It's always a great way to start my day. Obrigado. Thank you, Mark. That's lovely. Good to hear from the otherwise strangers who watch later on. So more of those, please. And you can send us a message, 913-590-303. GP also here, general purpose. Hello from Al Viagra this morning. Drove through there as well over the weekend. Love your town, general purpose. Who is that, I wonder? General purpose there. Somebody with a nom de plume on the screen. And say hi to the Brummies from us, general purpose. Yes, absolutely. The amazing Austin brothers over that way. And the credit union, if anybody wants 4.8%, thanks for that little tip off there, T-Duck. It's the Navy Federal Credit Union there at 4.8%.
Hey, I was a member there once.
Were you?
Long time ago.
You were. You were in the Navy, weren't you? In the Navy, yes.
Well, you don't have to be just because you're in the Navy, but you... No. Having been in the Navy, you have access to it. You can become a member of that one.
And I suspect you know how to use an iron as well as a member of the Naval Force.
I do, but I never use one. So.
No, if you needed to in an urgent life situation,
I could work it out.
You could. If you needed to press something to save your life, you could. Not many people can do that anymore, James.
All those sailors, when the boat was sinking, they had their ironing boards out. I need to save my life.
Wait, it's not hot enough. Right. Did you have anything particular on your mind that you wanted to share with us this morning?
Well, I had been thinking for a while. I have mentioned kind of in passing the notion that started with follow the money. If something doesn't make sense, like why, that doesn't make sense to me in the world outside or in the world of politics, follow the money. And then, okay, now it makes sense. Well, I found a similar thing with our inheritance, our DNA. When something doesn't make sense in human behavior, follow the DNA. And I know there's science that shows certain survival characteristics in our DNA. I'm not an expert on that. I haven't deeply researched it, but I do see some correlations in that. The argument long ago was, nature or nurture. What influences us as humans to be the way we are? And as humans do, it's got to be one or the other initially. Is it nurture, that is how we're brought up, or is it nature, what we're born with? And it's like, I think the consensus now, both, which is what I would have come to with the original argument, is both. And I think part of the reason that debate occurred is because there were certain characteristics, it seemed, part of your character or part of who you were. I don't know exactly how the relationship was, but that occurred prenatally, before you were born. And what they've been finding out is basically from the moment of conception, nurture is a factor. So, the sounds that made the heartbeat of the mother, the all the things that happen in the environment around that developing fetus are impacting it that are not DNA. So that's the nurture aspect of becoming before we even are born. So the deeper you go, it's like, where is the separation? There is no separation. Oh, what a concept. It's all connected. Yes. There is no separation between nature and nurture that shapes us for who we are. So when we look at things like, well, for me with clients, sometimes I say, I don't understand this, but every time blah, 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 then this. And you go, that is interesting. Why is it that every time such and such, then that? And sometimes when you look at it across many people, you start seeing similarities. Oh, that seems to be a part of most people's stories or many people's stories. What is going on? So there's the question. This isn't making sense. It can't be how they were raised. They're totally different families. So there must be something in the nature of it. So when looking at that, and then I've found some research on phobias as part of my profession, and discovered that there are certain phobias or fears of things that seem potentially irrational sometimes. There are some phobias that are almost impossible to eradicate for those who suffer them. And when you look at those particular phobias, you say, oh, fear of things that will bite you and kill you, spiders and snakes, for instance. Those seem to be phobias that when people have them, which is an overreaction, like being afraid of them even if they're not there, that kind of almost panic in that situation.
Just you mentioning it now would have sent some people into a bit of a worry, a wobble, right?
Yeah, and it's and things like puncturing the skin, so getting shots. Is another one that's very hard to eradicate. Fear of heights is another one. Some fears, some phobias you can diminish or eliminate by now I'm forgetting the term, but anyway, just intentionally putting yourself in that situation repeatedly, so you get used to the fact.
What's it called?
There's a desensitization.
Immersion therapy.
Immersion. There you go. That's the word I was looking for.
Yeah.
So those that are not that can be treated that way don't tend to be the ones that historically throughout the existence of humanity have been life-threatening per se. So I believe that there's something in our DNA that, the people who got bitten by poisonous spiders and snakes or fell off of high places, they didn't have more babies because they ended up dying. And the people that had more babies were the ones that stayed away from those situations, right? I'm not going to get poisoned. I'm not going to fall off a high cliff. I'm not going to get infected from a puncture of my skin. So that tends to filter its way out of the DNA in terms of being afraid of it. So where it pops up is in those rare occasions where somehow it has sustained within the DNA of that line. I haven't seen research done, although it would be interesting to me.
We must do it. We need to do some research. We're going to get Sarah on in just a moment because we want to find out about the use of hemp, don't we? But
yes,
if we know, does anyone know an Eskimo? Because I want to know if Eskimos are afraid of snakes and spiders. Because then we will discover, possibly, won't we, if it's genetic memory in the family line or genetic in the human line, which will be an interesting distinction as well, wouldn't it? Do we fear these things as a humanity, or do we fear these things as a family grown up in a particular kind of culture?
Well, yeah, we could have started with all of them, and then they fade out over time depending on our geography and so on. So it's possible they were all universal just to help us as especially poisonous ones.
What? Yeah, especially zombie frogs as well, or just pretty little frogs. Okay, Mother Earth, US is here again. Was it US who you were chatting with last time you were here, James? Who was just
well, I'm here every day, so probably
I think it might be the how some people use the Times to print random things in the classifieds to signal some spy activity. US might be using the chat as a way of signaling to others around the world. So there's a code word. So Mother Earth, and those other spy. The duck has landed on the pond. Okay, right. There are lots of instructions and homework. Google genetic memory from the doc. He might be on the screen with us in just a moment. Let's find out more about frogs and Chumbaria, shall we? Let's give her a nice big round of applause. Thank you for that, James. Oh, I don't think you got to your punchline, did you? How that might relate to migration?
Well, for me, it's more generally, if you don't understand someone's behavior, take a look at what might be genetically inherited that's influencing that behavior, basically.
Thank you very much.
So that could be most fears of anything. So fear of moving, I mean, agoraphobia, fear. It's not a fear of leaving the home. It's a fear of embarrassing or finding yourself in a really uncomfortable public situation. That's really what the fear is. So you don't go out because you're afraid that everyone's going to see you and laugh at you and you've done something humiliating.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Well, this would be a good place if you want to practice immersion therapy in a small situation. Come join us.
Just watch the show. You'll be exposed to a lot of things.
Let's give her a nice big round. Oh no, that's the wrong button. I'm bleating out her expletives already. I don't think she's going to be like that this morning. Let's give her a nice big round of applause. Morning, Sarah.
Good morning. How are you?
Very well. Lovely to see you again. It's been a while, hasn't it? Should we bring Andy on as well? If not for Andy, we wouldn't know you. So let's bring Andy on as well.
Let's bring him on.
If we must. There he is.
Good morning.
Good dia.
Hey, Doc.
Hola, bon dia, James. Bon dia, Sarah.
Hola. Great to see you, Sarah. And are you speaking to us from the hallowed ground that is Chumbaria this morning?
Yes, I am in our kitchen, not in our new buildings. And ironically, coming into a conversation about phobias, I am absolutely phobic of frogs and toads. And we're about to start a big rewilding project that involves a massive quantity of biodiversity. So I think me and Steve are going to end up getting
Sorry to laugh, but I can say,
what an opportunity to get past that phobia.
I've been a therapist for 25 years. I've done therapy, I've done hypnotherapy, I've done submersion frog therapy, and nothing is shifting this.
Wow.
In the water with them.
I can't even look at one, let alone get
maybe a long family line With all the poisonous frogs and toads.
It's called a really, really horrible brother that tormented me.
Okay.
There you go.
Yeah.
Okay, well,
we'll blame him.
Sarah,
Yes.
you're very lucky this morning, I have to say. You have a doctor and a therapist standing by. Should you? And, I'll help as best I can as well with this. But I guess it's got to such a state where, I guess it's accelerated or amplified. That's where you are with it, by the sound of it.
Yeah, look, I get through it. It's fine. I just don't go in the polytunnel because that's where they like to hang out. So
excellent. That's right. I have a phobia of washing up liquid. That's why I don't go near the washing up bowl or the sink after dinner as well. So I get it. I totally get it.
Fair enough. I did actually have a client once that had a phobia of popcorn. I never really
popcorn. Interesting.
But hey. Anyway, enough about my phobias.
You've come to talk about Chumbaria, haven't you? That's quite a nice little interesting diversion. However, you spoke to us once before. It's an amazing project. You've been on the telly in the UK, of course, and you spoke to us. And it's lovely to get an update. I mean, for those who weren't here first time, when you spoke to us, could you give us a little bit of a pen portrait of the origins of the project, and then we'll go to an update of where you've got to so far.
Yeah, we decided to leave the UK in 2018 and settled on Portugal as a beautiful place to live for many, many reasons. Did a lot of scouting trips, decided where we wanted to live, and then we were going to buy a small house with a small little Airbnb, and as you can see, we bought a village. So we moved here in 2020, and where you can see us standing, those are the first two buildings that have been renovated. 2019, I saw an ad for contributors for New Life in the Sun, and I called them and said we bought a village. And from that, there then became a series of programs on Channel 4. Where we've been filmed the whole way through, and in fact we are in series 3, which is live on Channel 4 every day at 5 o'clock. So
they must love you. I mean, there is so much content and material. You bought a village, and there it is.
Luckily it doesn't look like that anymore. We've turned them into the most, even I have to say, the most beautiful houses. And it's always a bit nerve-wracking when I know that we're going to be on television because I don't know what they're going to show. And nine times out of 10, every episode, I'm crying for some reason. So,
right, is it the frogs?
Sometimes the frogs, sometimes things are a little bit more serious. But
of course.
I think last time I spoke to you, I'd just been diagnosed with breast cancer and treatment, and I am in touchwood remission. So
well done.
Alongside renovating a village, we've also had to navigate lots of personal issues as well, but we're still standing and we still love our village. And we opened for guests a few weeks ago, and so far we have had back-to-back bookings, 5-star ratings, and we're getting people from abroad, but also couples who just want to escape from Porto or Lisbon for the weekend. So we're doing really well, which is fantastic.
So despite all these major life challenges that you've had, and you've had them, haven't you? You are getting there, as it were. You are realizing your vision, and this is something other people just dream of, right? And would never probably get around to in their lives. You've gone and done it. You've done it here in Portugal as something. Yeah, a lot of other people would have thought, yeah, I want to do that. Would you recommend it?
No. No, it is a journey. It has lots of twists and turns. We've had to, learn. We did restoration in the UK, but we've had to learn to work with Portuguese builders. So I would say, are you going for lunch for an hour or 2 weeks? It just kind of works that way here.
Those sort of things.
We've been very, very lucky to have the endorsement of the president of Leiria, where we live, and he came and did the official opening ceremony. We had an open day. We've been in the local paper, we've been in Publico, the national paper, we've been featured in the online platform NIT. And obviously with the TV stuff, we get a lot of publicity. So it's just I don't know how to describe it, but for example, on Facebook, we arrived here with 200 friends and now we've got 5,000 followers. So our website gets 20,000 hits a month, and it's all about sustainable building and regenerating our land following the principles of permaculture.
Well, that's what I want to talk to you about, and I think that's where Andy and James will be interested in the conversation as well. It's about regeneration. It's a social thing as well as much as an environmental, I think, to bring a village back to life in central Portugal. And also, you are keen to point out that you use hempcrete there, and I know James is a big fan of hemp. How has that figured in the whole process?
The hemp has been an integral part of it. We use hemp I don't know if it's prefabricated, but we use hempcrete blocks from a really great company in Alentejo, Canyamore, and they've started a collective of hemp growers in Portugal because it's an amazing crop and also amazing for the planet, carbon negative, blah, blah, blah.
So grown and fabricated and now used by you in this development.
Yeah, at the moment, because there isn't enough producers in Portugal, it's imported. The hemp shiv is imported from France, but the aim of Canyamore is that Portugal once again becomes a big producer of hemp. I mean, back in the 15th century, for sails and ropes and all that kind of thing, Portugal was one of the biggest producers. So we work closely with them, and ordinarily with hemp or hempcrete inside a house, you would plaster with a lime over it so it can breathe. But we've left ours exposed because we like the rustic look, and also there's so many benefits of it, and I find it quite beautiful. I thought it might be like living in a house of Weetabix, but it's actually really...
Which could be handy. You know, when you get back from the pub sometimes and you're a bit peckish, if you could just pull a bit of your wall down and put some milk on it, that'd be amazing. That'd be amazing. But
throw it in the blender.
Yeah.
Try this at home.
Well,
okay.
I haven't tried that, but I think one of the things that I do like about it is that it's like a living wall, because you can see where different blocks are different colors, where they absorb the moisture. So there's no damp, no humidity. It's really lovely acoustically. It's fire retardant, and it makes for a very, very healthy atmosphere physically, because it's clean. And everyone that stayed in the houses have just said I can't quite describe it. It just creates an atmosphere that is absolutely beautiful.
I'm sure. So the key word here: rewilding, regeneration, permaculture. I know you use permaculture principles. Love it, says Squire of the Shires. Morning, Squire. We see the beautiful, fruitful Portugal and wonder why the UK countryside isn't as bountiful and abundant. I imagine the doc's got an answer for that, a political one, and I'm sure he's right as well. But tell us more about this, Sarah, about regeneration and permaculture. Why is that so important to you, and how's that manifesting on the site?
So when we bought the village, we hadn't even heard of the word permaculture, but a friend of ours introduced us to it. Steve went and did a permaculture design course, and basically the fundamental ethics of permaculture are earth care, people care, and fair share.
Yes.
So we grow everything organically. We do our own composting, etc., etc. And the produce that we produce is really just amazing. So everything is done with those ethics in mind, and part of the people care is that this place also is for the community. We've worked really hard to integrate into our local community. We hold workshops up here, therapy workshops and permaculture workshops and ceramic workshops, and we did a bonsai workshop, which I was a bit like, whoa, but actually was really interesting. But the other thing that the permaculture comes with is that we have a lot of volunteers, because obviously we're two little old people with a lot of land and we can't do it all on our own. Yeah. So I think we had a break because I was ill, but in the last 2 years we've hosted over 70 volunteers from all around the world, of all ages and all backgrounds, and it's about us kind of just spreading the word that living a more simple life can be as fulfilling as going to work 9 to 5, making enough money to buy a Gucci handbag. Well, no offense, Gucci handbags, but you know.
No, I've none taken.
Or more fulfilling.
I will continue to use mine, but I do take. And any questions from our gentleman here? Thanks, Andy, for introducing us to Sarah. It's always inspiring to talk to Sarah and find out more about what Sarah and Steve have been up to. You introduced us to them. What's your take on it as someone who visits from time to time?
It's fantastic. We don't just visit from time to time. We visit ridiculously frequently.
Can't get rid of him, eh, Sarah?
He does deplete my red wine stock quite.
I bet he does.
He really does.
Typical socialist.
We barter. So this thing about fair shares, you know, I give medical advice and she provides me with wine, and excess produce occasionally, which does taste fantastic. I mean, yes. Even if you're comparing what Sarah and Steve produce with what you can buy in the farmers market in Ericeira, there's no comparison. Sarah and Steve's stuff is just beautiful, and you don't really get a sense of what you don't get a sense of from the brief introduction, the video coverage that you've shown, Carl, is the fantastic environment, the beautiful views, the peace. The surroundings, it's just such a wonderful place. It really is.
Thanks, Andy. And you know, I know we talk about politics with you a lot, don't we, on your monthly visit? And I've always thought underlying, you know, the various routes to behind all political ideologies, I think, and I'd include you in this, is a wish that people get on and that there is fairness and justice in society. Without wanting to sound sort of too grandiose, but Chumbaria is like a working model for that, isn't it? Is that what appeals to you as well?
Well, yeah. I mean, yeah. Goodness, I could go right back to the theories of socialism, but the hint is in the word social, really, and it is about looking after each other and looking after the earth that we live in, and you know, that is reflected absolutely in what Steve and Sarah are doing. You know, there would be more to a socialist society and lots of little Chumbarias, because, you know, there are other things that have to remain produced, but what they're doing would be an absolute key on a wide scale to a better world.
And is this what? Thanks, Andy. Is this what the head honcho at Ericeira likes, Sarah, about it? That you are regenerating a part of the countryside and his manor, as it were. That's a really good example to others to come and try, because it's not easy, is it? It's not what people naturally do. You go, you know, in Ericeira, presumably young people in Ericeira want an apartment, they want a job, they want a simple life. They don't want to live like their grandparents lived that they remember visiting. But it sounds like the leader there is a visionary who approves of what you're doing as a possible model for others.
Yeah, he's very sorry. That's our dog that's the size of a horse. Sounds like a camel drinking in the background.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
It sounds like a Monty Python sketch.
I know. All you can see is his tail. He's really making a lot of noise. I think the president really likes the fact that we've chosen this area, because, you know, a lot of people are not as familiar with some of the beauty of rural Portugal, and obviously we bring a lot of publicity, and he loves the fact that we're kind of trying to build a community that we're this is family.
Don't worry.
He's trying to get in on the action, as always.
That's fair enough. No, it's like bring your pet to the show day today. We've already had Andy's cat. What's your dog called?
This is Stanley. He's
Stanley.
Stanley, say hello to everyone.
Come on, Stanley. Don't do that.
He's about the size of a horse.
Just for breakfast, that's all. Hi, Stanley.
Going back to the president and the community, I think what everyone around here likes is that we're not coming in heavy-handed, putting up slabs of concrete. We're just trying to. We work with the local scouts. We're working with a rewilding group on our new bloody biodiversity pond.
Big fan.
We work with local therapists who run workshops and stuff up here. So we work really hard to integrate into the community. And this place is very special to people because it used to be one of the biggest places of employment, and so it's a very, very key part of this community, and I think that's why they like having us here.
Yeah, fantastic. Any questions from you, James?
No questions. I just I'm reveling in the notion that there's 4 of us on screen who all support notions of sustainability, taking care of the planet, taking care of each other. I think it really is the only way that we're going to survive as a species. So I love seeing people in action with it.
Yeah, thanks, James. These are such lovely photos, aren't they? There's some of that produce that
you produce.
That's the produce that we produce.
Yes.
I don't know.
Sorry, I'm picking you up top there.
I don't know, Carl, if you can go onto the accommodation page of the website, because you'll find the photos of the hempcrete, because it's quite hard to describe it, and it is obviously such a big part of our journey.
Which bit of accommodation? Casa de Eira, Casa de Rosaria,
Go on to Casa de Eira and look at the photos, because I can't really quite explain the hemp without showing it to you.
All right. Is that showing up on your screen? There it is. Okay. So is that what a hempcrete block looks like? Like a breeze block?
Yeah, it does.
That's what it can look like.
Yeah. I thought it'd be a lot more rustic than that. That looks like
Scroll down. There's more photos down at the bottom. Here we go.
Right, so let's go through.
So you can see that that was originally a storage for olive oil. Right. So it's kind of retaining its rustic feel. And that armchair there, we found an amazing reupholsterer whose mission in life is to save furniture from landfill. And if you saw the before photo of that armchair, you'd know she'd done an amazing job. So
it looks very comfortable.
Yeah, it is. So
this is a beautiful warm finish, isn't it?
Yeah, and like I said, I thought I was a bit nervous that it would be like living in a packet of Weetabix, but actually it works really well. So we've got a kind of like a little bit of a modern twist on a kind of old barn. And the other thing about the hempcrete is that it regulates the temperature. So all we have is a big wood burner. So that's, again, cutting down on all sorts of electric and gas and whatever. So we can regulate the temperature. It's warm in the winter and cool in the summer. So
the styling is beautiful as well. Is this Steve's touch on the interior?
Nah, Steve does the land. I do the buildings.
Really, this is fantastic. That concrete breakfast bar, is that what it is?
It's that is, where has it gone? That's
that
like
one.
Oh, that's the sunset window where you can sit with a glass of wine, or you can have.
Yes, okay, that's fine. Yes, let's do that.
And if you nip over to the other one, Casa de Rosaria, and look at the photos on that one, that's got some more. That
Lovely.
shows you some more of the amazing views.
Very nice indeed. So how many buildings have you got there?
So we've renovated 2. When we bought it, this house that we live in had been renovated. So we've got 3 renovations and we've got another 8 to go. But we've got planning permission for the next one, and we're just in the middle of applying for EU funding for rural tourism. So once that's underway, we can start work on the next phase of the village. And they are quite special. And
love your styling, Sarah.
Thank you. But I did fall out with the architects quite a lot over the years. But
that happens, doesn't it, with projects of this kind? I would have thought.
Yes, but I managed to get most of what I have to say thank you to our architects, and also we used all local builders and tradesmen, and they really have between them made my vision for our vision for the houses has really worked. We've had a fantastic team to work with.
No question. And what are we looking at out of that window there? What's that hill? Is that Castle?
So no, that's on a rainy day, which is why the fire's on. But you can see right across, I think, and Andy can correct me, but you can see right about 50, 60 kilometers to the mountains on the horizon. Beautiful. So it's quite phenomenal.
Yep. And the hempcrete's good. I mean, you're not having to skim it, are you? You can use it as a standalone, literally, material. There's some cast concrete there by the look of it. I'm loving the styling of and your touch here.
Yeah, that's that garden there is now full of herbs and plants for guests to use. We've got lemon verbena and sage and parsley and all sorts of things. So part of the experience here that we offer our guests if they want to, and so far most of them have taken us up on that, is that Steve will do a tour of our gardens and our growing and talk to them about permaculture, because there's a lot of people that don't really know anything about permaculture, just like there's Steve. Yes,
good morning, Steve.
Good morning, Steve. So part of what we offer our guests is that they can learn a bit about permaculture, and we find that people are really fascinated. And it sounds a bit corny, but if someone goes away from here and even starts a window box with some tomatoes, we've done our job and we're spreading the word. And that's about our fair share, in that we can share our knowledge of regenerative stuff and sustainable building. So
it's
far,
amazing what you're doing. Absolutely amazing what you're doing. Thanks for coming back. I hope we can have another of these updates from time to time, and maybe even a little bit of a Gumper gathering. Yeah, I mean, you have open days, do you, or what's the best way to come and visit?
Well, you can. If you want to come and stay, I'll give you mates rates. But no, you can. We're on Airbnb, we're on booking.com. We've got our accommodation page on our website, but anyone that wants to come and visit, there's never a day that there isn't somebody just coming up here because they've seen us in the paper or on television, or there's locals whose great-great-grandmothers worked here back in the day. We're always open to visitors. There's always something going on up here. And you just tell me when you want to come and visit. And if Andy's involved, I'll open the red wine. And if he's not, I'll do the coffee.
It gets better, doesn't it? Look, so chumbaria.com. And as I think it's only fair to give you a warning, because that must be a nightmare. People just goldfish bowling you all the time like that.
No, I quite like it, because I mean, I met a guy. We called Casa de Rosaria after the original goat herder. And I met her great-great-grandson, and he came to the open day, and he's an amazing guy doing an amazing project in Coimbra with sustainable stuff. And I like people just wandering through.
Fair enough.
It's nice.
Is it true you've named the cellars the Thompson cellars as well?
No, we've got a barn with the original wine vats in it, so it's going to have to be Casa de Andy.
Right, yes, it's only a matter of time, wouldn't it? Brilliant, Sarah. Thank you so much, and because you rearranged things to make it possible to talk to me. Thanks for the prompt as well, Andy. So thank you, both of you. Have a great day, have a great week, and we'll see you again soon. Cheers, all the best.
Bye.
Bye for now. There goes the doc. There goes Sarah. Wasn't that lovely, James?
Very lovely. Yeah, I learned something new too. I always imagined permaculture was all about farming, but it's more like a lifestyle.
It's a way of life. It's a way of seeing the world.
That totally lines up with my understanding of how I want to be in the world, even if I'm not growing food. So
right, I think you're a permaculturist, whether you know it or not. Absolutely, yeah.
I did want to add one small piece about hemp, since I have the opportunity. Is it also makes great paper? So all that eucalyptus that's been imported that creates these massive fires and totally destroys the environment. Hemp does the complete opposite of all those things. So I was surprised to hear that hemp had actually been a huge product here in Portugal. And then, like the United States, the first American flag was made of hemp canvas or hemp cloth.
And then Washington smoked it, right? Is that what happened?
No, the whole marijuana scare around the time of World War I came in, and that got all the other manufacturers of other things that weren't hemp to be able to say, ooh, hemp is the evil weed and we need to eradicate it, make it illegal, all that kind of stuff. And they're just not the same. Marijuana and hemp are it's the same family, but two very different plants.
Yeah, so. And as you might expect, I think ocean-going nations, hemp was very important, wasn't it? Wood and hemp.
Yeah, sails, rope,
the whole lot.
All that stuff. It doesn't rot. I mean, it's an amazing product. Yes. But you can eat it. You can make oil out of it. It actually fertilizes the soil. It doesn't drain it. It hydrates the soil. It just does so many things that people don't know unless they've done even just a little research. It's amazing.
I knew you're an advocate, and so thank you for saying that. Are you going to shout Frank, or shall I, or should we do it together?
See, I go to Nibbly.
Frank and the Nibbly. Okay, fair enough. Morning to you, Frank, enjoying Sarah's work there. Let's go very quickly then to the God Squad tip of the day before we go. Bon dia, meus amigos, e feliz segunda. Well, an interesting weekend that involved coaching, garden design, and a car accident. Oh, no. Luckily, we're okay after the latter, though the same cannot be said for the car. No, not the Porsche. But the turf wars over design decisions may lead to serious injury. I'm also happy to report that our gorgeous... Oh, thank goodness for that. Happy memories of being in that motor with you. Sorry to hear that, Coach. God Squad to the tip of the day from you. I tried to keep up to date with the latest research into health and fitness, whether that's exercise-related or nutrition. However, most investigations look into extending life expectancy. I look at the data with a growing old disgracefully lens, literally bifocals probably, what allows us to enjoy life from this point forward. So I was interested in some of the latest findings on intermittent farting. As you might imagine, any fasting, of course, as you might imagine, any research looking at lifespan takes a while to study. Yes, unless you use a psychic as well in the research project. Lots of people have to die before it becomes statistically significant. So this is a study that looked at mice. What it showed was that mice that were fed a balanced diet for 12 hours overnight, mice are of course nocturnal, lived 35% longer than the control group that were fed 24 hours a day. Ooh, gives the body a chance to recover. And again, like you said before, you kind of knew that, didn't you, James? It's kind of intuitive, but I guess the scientists need to go ahead and prove it.
Yes, and there are so many confounding variables in those things. It's very difficult to prove cause and effect. But yeah, the relationship,
I'm going to be using that as an insult later today. You, sir, are a confounding variable. And that's the end of our relationship.
You set the curve completely off.
Yes. Oh, other regimes are also tested, but none as effective. So the research group has been using the results to guide human studies and finding similar patterns, says the coach. We'll look at what this meant or what this means for the God Squad tomorrow. Fantastic. I'm going to go and have some breakfast. I don't know if I should know or not. And tomorrow evening with Steve, I did ask him what we're talking about tomorrow night, and we'll be talking to the lovely Denise Kearney and her experience with short-term rentals in Central Portugal. So if you want to get into short-term rentals, come and join us for that chat, which I suspect, Steve, will be taking place just after 8. Let's go for 8:15 tomorrow night, if that's okay with you, Steve. And we'll have a chat with Denise and you and the home miners. Massive tomorrow evening. Last couple of live comments. Brilliant show this morning. Thanks, James. Thank you to Sarah and Steve and the lovely Chumbaria update. Sworn anomaly. Is that another thing I can say to somebody today? You, sir, are a sworn anomaly. Bless your...
Not only are you a confounding variable,
you too are a sworn anomaly, sir. Basing dietary advice on mouse studies.
Yes.
Not entirely happy with that there.
Well, that's where we get our where we can start to develop some ideas. I wouldn't want to base my diet on what a mouse does.
I don't want to eat a mouse either, even if whether intermittently or not. No mice for me, thank you very much. Okay, although the cat did bring one for us. That's a little present.
And I think your mind might change if you were starving to death.
It's true. It's true. I am lucky enough to be able to say that. No mice for me.
Yes, exactly.
So a final thought from you, James, this morning?
Well, I'm just so wrapped up in this. Well, not wrapped up, but in the gentle warmth of this notion of sustainability and the power we have if we'll just wake up enough to notice and make some choices consistent with sustaining the planet. Sustainability, to me, is it's not a new word, but it applies to virtually every aspect of being alive on the planet, from, you know, who we are individually as people to how we preserve the planet as a place to live into perpetuity. I mean, we have the capacity to do that if we would just, you know, stop doing the things that are destroying it. So,
yeah. And who knows, then you might live to 100 years of age.
That's my plan right there. Yes.
Yeah. There. Thank you, Pete, for these. There's a party, quite rightly, to celebrate the centenarian. Is that right? Not a centurion, but a centenarian. And there he is, the birthday boy, 100 years of age. It's fantastic. I'm sorry, I don't know his name. But there he is, having his 100th birthday. And thank you, Pete, for sharing with us. Oh, no, that's me having some beer, hoping to live to 100 there. But there he is. And yes, we also nearly had a picture of Pete in his pool, but I saved you from that. There he is, 100 years of age. Sorry, I don't know your name, sir, but absolutely we salute you. What a wonderful...
And I will say, beyond the years is the quality of life.
Yeah,
and they both go hand in hand. So what the coach talks about is that being able to lift a potato when I'm 100. That's my goal.
Hopefully we'll be there with you, cheering you on, James. Okay, fantastic. Good morning to you, Andy, as well. Watch the show on his walk this morning, so we might expect a bit of video from Andy on his return home there. Good morning to you, bye, Randy. See you tomorrow. Have a great day today and a great week, and we'll see you again tomorrow. And enjoy, if you'll see here, our new property of the week, our new treat of the week, which happens to be... Didn't get to talk about any of these today, but we will this week. A new car and a new home as well. So and a point of interest, which see if you can guess from the titles here. Don't go just yet, just have a watch of these and see if you can guess where the Portuguese point of interest is this week. Gumper dust on you, James, and a nice big round of applause for everybody. Take care, bye for now, ciao ciao.
There's a YouTube show full of fun facts you need to know. Carl rings the bell and the members show to the GMP morning show. Featured guests will come and they will blow your mind. The audience will do so in kind. The little vanity mixed with some insanity on the morning show with GMP. Hey, Gumpers.